you're still with us as we continue with the Polokwane takeover. It's take two as Kaizer Chiefs take on TS Galaxy from the new Peter Mokaba Stadium. It's fourth on the Betway Premiership standings when the day started, in the visitors up against eighth when the day started, but now dropped down to ninth in Kaizer Chiefs. Still alongside JT as well as Stanton Fredericks for this one. Gentlemen, this is a tie then that is of such great consequence to Kaizer Chiefs and arguably the rest of their season. JT.
Look, I think a team that's coming at the back of a loss to Golden Arrows, for me, it's a team that's coming into this game very much under pressure. The numbers they will have on the stands, which can also be a counter pressure for them, because the fans have demonstrated their commitment, their passion, their love for the team. But now the results have not been forthcoming. And they're playing against a Galaxy team that has really improved, and it will be a very difficult team to play against. So yeah, hopefully Chiefs have gotten over the loss against Golden Arrows and see this as a new encounter.
Yeah, Chiefs up against TS Galaxy that'll be harboring goals of playing on the continent, you know. So they're looking ahead. They're full of confidence. They've got goal scorers at their disposal. And they're up against a side that is winless in the last three in Kaizer Chiefs, struggling for confidence, struggling for regular 11 as well, which I think that speaks to the inconsistent results for Kaizer Chiefs. But Galaxy very much maybe licking their wounds from the last result. But other than that, holistically this season, since the exodus as well, which I think that speaks to this of Siad Ramovic. I think that they've grown in stature, and the incumbent coach in Begovic, I think he's just been excellent. You can see he's got a lovely rapport with the players. It's the players that want to play for the coach, and I think not only the head coach, the entire technical staff on the bench, they just seem to have a lot of synergy, and things are working out for TS Galaxy. And it's not only results. I think they're playing attractive brand of football.
Yeah, and we'll and we'll explore that in a bit more detail in a short while. If they avoid defeat today, TS Galaxy, they go third on the Betway Premiership standings. While for Kaizer Chiefs, they simply want to get back into the top 8 bracket. It's a first meeting since they met last time. This was last year, a meeting that finished 1-1 over in Mbombela. It was Galaxy who took the lead. Kaizer Chiefs here, JT, needing a stoppage time equalizer from Ranga Chivaviro.
Yeah, and once again, I think when they look at those clips, TS Galaxy, they would see a belief that they can still get a result against Kaizer Chiefs, because they always find a way to rise to the occasion with games like this. You know, this was a very closely contested game between Galaxy and Chiefs. For Chiefs to come back and equalize at the dying minutes of the game, you know, it's moments like this that makes this game such an interesting one.
Yeah, and you have to simply say that since that meeting in the middle of December, a lot has happened from a Kaizer Chiefs perspective. Not a lot of it, though, Stanton Fredericks, positive as they try to, at the very least, finish in the top 8, which they missed out on entirely last campaign.
Yeah, I think it becomes so important if Kaizer Chiefs are to look at the players that they have at their disposal. As the coach, as the helm, you obviously want to end in the top 8. I think at the beginning of the season, you know, you can't just leapfrog and then want to challenge for the league. So it's step by step. And I think if I was a fly on the wall, I would have been listening to conversations like, guys, let's get in the top 8. Let's try and break in the top 4. We can possibly aim for a continental place as well, which is the Confed Cup, which now has money about it. It's lucrative. It's no longer back in the day when you used to play in there. It's actually it's not cost effective, you know. So now it's lucrative in terms of experience, in terms of financially. So a lot of teams will be vying themselves in those conversations.
Yeah, and I think the ambition is different from a Chiefs team that's trying to solidify a position in the top 8. It just tells you the kind of season that they've had.
Yeah.
And a Galaxy team that sees an opportunity to close the gap between the leading pack, so they can also solidify a position for the CAF spot, you know. So there's a lot to play for, and the pride between the two teams, there's a lot of bragging rights also to play for, you know. A Galaxy team that would look at this Chiefs team and say they are there for the taking, you know, and Chiefs team saying this is an opportunity for us to turn the corner. So hence I'm saying, for me, it's not only about the 3 points for this particular encounter. It's also to give gratitude to the fans who've come to the stadium to support this team, regardless of the season that they've had.
Unfortunately, it is a season that at this stage continues to really worry a lot of Kaizer Chiefs fans going into this final part of the campaign. As it is, they're up against TS Galaxy today. It is a win apiece down the head-to-head count. The most prevalent result, a draw between these two sides.
They've played in one of the most iconic finals in South African football history. The Nedbank Cup final of 2019 shook the underbelly of South African football, with TS Galaxy launching into the spotlight and Kaizer Chiefs' misery continuing.
Strikes it purely for the opportunity of a lifetime. Have TS Galaxy not only defeated the Amakosi but created history. They might very well now be the only lower division team to ever win the National Cup.
To this day, Galaxy remain the only first division team to have won the Nedbank Cup, and they have firmly entrenched their place in the hearts of the Kwandebele people. Their rise has been steady but consistent, with continuity the key ethos to their success. A fine blend of youth and experience provides the makeup of their squad, and they are reaping the benefit. While many proclaimed a steady decline in the aftermath of Siad Ramovic's departure, the arrival of Adnan Beganovic has proven to be a stroke of genius. Playing a highly attractive brand of football, the Rockets are well placed. However, they head into the clash on the back of a 2-1 loss to Marumo Gallants, which brought an end to a 4-match unbeaten run. Maybe a blow to their hopes of marking a return to continental football, but they remain in control of their destiny. How they respond remains to be seen, but Beganovic and his boys will be confident of a return to winning ways. Meanwhile, it's been another season of more misery for Kaizer Chiefs. Defeat to Lamontville Golden Arrows at the weekend was their 10th of the season, and it leaves them in real danger of missing out on a top 8 finish for a second straight season. They had their moments but couldn't capitalize against Abafana Bestende. At a club like Chiefs, success isn't demanded but rather expected, and while they may have a Nedbank Cup semi-final date with Mamelodi Sundowns to look forward to, the pressure is mounting on coach Nasruddin Nabi. A game against top 8 rivals Chippa United and a fixture against relegation candidates Marumo Gallants precedes the Soweto derby, so Nabi has no option but to arrest the slide. When the sides met earlier in the season, a 96-minute strike by Ranga Chivaviro helped rescue a point for Amakosi at the Mbombela Stadium. 4 months on, and these clubs' situations remain similar. Will the rise of the Rockets continue, or can Amakosi hand their fans some Easter joy?
So not long then to go before we get to have a look at Kaizer Chiefs up against TS Galaxy in the Betway Premiership. Let's have a look at the starting lineup. First and foremost, from a home side perspective, that is Kaizer Chiefs playing at the Peter Mokaba Stadium for a third time as a home outfit this season. And Stiga, 3 changes that they've made from the side that was defeated last time out.
Bradley Cross coming in at left back. I think Ngoba will slot in alongside Mark, which will see Modi form part of that front 3. Modi possibly on the right-hand side, Serino in a more central position, and then in comes Duba. We've seen him play this role before as a possible false 9. So yeah, changes was needed and changes have been implemented, and let's see what this starting lineup can give for Kaizer Chiefs this evening rather.
It's the third time this season already that they've lost back-to-back matches, have yet to lose 3 in succession. Is this the lineup that can prevent that?
Look, I think for me there's been a lot of changes in the team, the Chiefs team. Was in the defense. They've never had a consistent back 4. And for me, Miguel has been a bit suspect in terms of how they've conceded. The one-on-ones on the sides, he loses those battles, you know, and you find that team so stressed. You know, you look at the goal that they conceded against Golden Arrows. those were just defensive mistakes that they made, and they got punished in the process. Cross comes in also at the back of a bad performance that he has had. So hopefully this game is able to pick up and get a positive performance out of this opportunity given. You know, but I think also in front of goal, they've also been found wanting. They don't really have an out-and-out goal scorer who has really given them hope in front of goals, because the goals have come in between the midfielders joining in, players like Modi, Uživo getting goals, Vilakazi getting a goal in between. So I think that's a team that really needs to find the right balance.
Yeah, that's one victory in their last 6, 3 in their last 10. As it is, Chiefs have lost now 10 of their 23 games this season, the most that they've ever had at this stage of the campaign. Are they, as Jimmy mentioned earlier, there for the taking then? This is the starting lineup that the visitors, TS Galaxy, are coming with. 3 changes for them as well. Tamsanga Masia comes in. Victor Letwalo is also in that starting lineup. Puso Ditejane gets an opportunity as well, JT.
Again, a team that will take the game to Chiefs. You know, you look at that lineup, very attacking minded. Keegan Dole will become so instrumental for them into just how then he looks for those opportunities to link up with players like Letwalo and Ditejane, you know. And I think it's a team that you don't really want to give too much confidence coming to this game, because if the game stays longer being a stalemate, TX Galaxy then gains confidence and they believe that they can get a result. So the sooner Chiefs settle in this game, the better for them, because then it will just make the job much easier for them.
Zamovic and Letwalo, they've combined for 13 goals this season for TS Galaxy. That's 13 of the 29 they have. And perhaps further underlining exactly what JT is saying, extremely attacking this outfit.
Yes, very attacking. And Zamovic, of the 8 goals he scored in the league, 4 of them came from his from headers, you know. And we mentioned that this jointed defense that needs to be communicating a bit more of Kaizer Chiefs. They'll be looking to test that, and I won't be surprised if you see a lot of crosses coming in. Dolly's playing through the middle, but he can maybe drift wide. Ditejani's come in for Sebelebele, and Mgaga as well alongside Mvelase. So Mvelase will be sitting, but he has the ability to get forward, so he'll share that responsibility with Mgaga. But you can see how serious they take in the game. They look the part, they come. The suit tells you that you are serious and you did the job. I don't know about the hairstyle, they're very funky. But Keegan Dolly, as Jimmy mentioned, is just gaining momentum. Had a bit of a slow start. He played 13 games. So far this season, started 6, and how he's becoming a regular, and now you're starting to see that experience coming to the fore. He's also added 2 goals to that 13 starts. I mean, games for TS Galaxy, you know. So also the coach understanding what leadership role is starting to come from his performances. So it's a side that has come together very nicely. They've got goal scorers at their disposal, and now the experience also coming to the fore.
33 points TS Galaxy have managed to pick up under the new coach in Adnan Beganovic. Only Mamelodi Sundowns in that period have been better. Again, telling quite the story about the Rockets and exactly where they find themselves. We remind you, with a win today, they're up to 3rd on the betway Premiership standings. Let's quickly then try and explore then, JT, nice and slowly, Kaizer Chiefs, and exactly why they're here, exactly why they find themselves here. Beaten by Richards Bay, which was disappointing. The way that they performed against Golden Arrows, particularly in the second half, even more so.
And what was that, you see it like situations like this. When you go out as a centre back, you can't be easily bumped off like that, because if an opponent is able to bypass you, like, it means there's only one defender left, plus a fullback who should be coming in late. Now, Msimango finds himself in 6s and 7s. He doesn't know whether he should commit or he should try and guard the space behind him. Yeah, this is Matt coming in to get the equalizer after to get the first goal after they actually missed the penalty. You know, so I think for me, it is a team that has become predictable in how they play, relying on wing play like Modi and Lilepo. Again, a situation on the side, no need to commit, to tackle, stay on your feet as long as possible, so that at least you give your teammates a chance to reorganize themselves at the back, and they concede in the process.
This isn't the first time that Kaizer Chiefs have conceded goals like this. It's not the first time that Kaizer Chiefs defenders have I guess, seemingly felt isolated in a game of football. Why are teams finding such joy against Kaizer Chiefs and that back four?
Yeah, lack of confidence. Also bewildered why a quality player like Ed Milson-Dove would dive in there. You know, just very bemusing, because it seems that it's desperation. And desperation speaks to lack of confidence. And lack of confidence is no cohesion in that defense. You know, so and today we see the starting lineup. Bradley Cross is in place of Dove, and one can only assume that the coach looked at that and saying, listen, this can't be happening, you know. And that chopping and changing doesn't give confidence to players on the field. Opposition will look at you and say, okay, they've changed again, and it just speaks. And they're going to test you. You're talking of the likes of Keegan Dolly coming up against his ex-employer. You're talking of Zamovic speaking in the media saying, I want to play for the big boys, you know. So he's got a point to prove. He's already been spoken about and saying, if you want goals, here's a man that can get you goals, you know. So he's just going to want to end it off on a high. And games like these, Jimmy, is where you announce yourself and say, listen, I'm here, I want to play, I want to win, look what I can do.
And also against a team that is low on confidence. I mean, look at the finish there.
Yeah.
You know, there's class, there's just the presence of in that moment. So this is how I want to execute that, and he scores. You know, and he scores such important goals, difficult ones for that matter, because he runs from the second line. You know, he's a player who's got a good engine. He's in and around the box. He finishes well, and they rely a lot on him on transition play. You know, because he's so good on the ball. You know, and a game like this calls for him to really take up that position against Chiefs. They would have seen where the weaknesses of the Chiefs team are, and they'll want to capitalize on that.
Zamovic, 38 shots at goal for TS Galaxy, the most from the Rockets. He's currently on 8 league goals, as Stiga mentioned. No player has ever scored 9 in a single season for TS Galaxy in the Betway Premiership. Those are the kind of records that he's chasing coming into this particular time. Now, talking a bit more about the Rockets coming into this one. Yes, they were beaten last time out in the Betway Premiership, suffering a defeat, which was altogether rare because Galaxy in recent times, particularly under Coach Beganovic, have had a wonderful go at it. Only 3 defeats in their last 19 top-flight matches.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be a reaction to that. You can feel a little bit unlucky there with that bounce, but take nothing away from a poor display and what they've certainly set the bar. And I think as Gallants here, you know, they're also chasing survival. So they're a little bit hungrier. So this would have been a wake-up call for TS Galaxy. But there you see they have that quality that can come through and create some sort of danger. Galaxy, I think, as a team, what they do very well is what Jimmy says Chiefs is not doing, is they're very compact at the back. And we've got to give kudos to the likes of Mbenjani that has been converted, lost a bit of speed in the middle of the park there, but his size, and once you're a midfielder, you can easily become a defender, and I think he's slotting into that role very, very nicely.
And the fact that he's been given that leadership role in terms of the captain, that Mbunjane, you can see how much that has also lifted his game in terms of the confidence. And whether this will be the perfect time to take on this Chiefs team, I think the belief, if it's there and you are able to execute your plan accordingly, that there shouldn't be anything that stands in their way.
Mlungisi Mbunjane playing his 150th top-flight match this evening, and he's going to be at centre-back, as he has been for the last couple of games. We'll explore what that means exactly from a Galaxy point of view. But let's go through then to the new Peter Mokaba Stadium, because Lerato Paco is waiting to set the scene for us.
Thank you very much, Razi. Very good evening to you and to your panel. It is game 2 of 2 in Polokwane. It is the Polokwane takeover. Football extravaganza. Nothing quite like it when you find Soweto teams coming to the city and wanting to dominate. I'm joined by the bold Pumuzo Manenje. It's always a special occasion, Pumuzo, when you find 2 teams that are playing away from home, but wherever they play, they're able to garner so much support. Now all the attention is on Kaizer Chiefs.
I think on the other side at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium, Orlando Pirates did the business away from home. Kaizer Chiefs are at home in this fixture. They will want to take the advantage of the supporters that are here. I think Kaizer Chiefs are looking to get back to that first page of the league, which is the top 8. You're looking at this TS Galaxy team trying to get to those CAF spots. It's going to be a very competitive game.
Exactly that, a competitive fixture. But if you don't look at the log standings, you see a Kaizer Chiefs team up against TS Galaxy, you are thinking Chiefs should have the edge. But in this case, TS Galaxy is calling all the shots.
I think when you look at these two teams and you look at Kaizer Chiefs head-to-head with this TS Galaxy team, in the last 5 games, it has been 4 draws and 1 win that belongs to TS Galaxy. On the other hand, Kaizer Chiefs want to turn the corner. I looked at the starting lineup, it looks very offensive. So you can see that Nabi wants to please all these people that travel to the stadium to try and get a positive result.
Let's talk about the starting 11, especially for Kaizer Chiefs. Injuries. You don't see Thabo Tlele in there. Again, another headache for Coach Netsuti Nabi, where he has to shift these moving pieces for Kaizer Chiefs.
I think he needs to find the solution, but I'm happy with that midfield. You have got Mark that will be sitting as the 6. You have got Kosim Pile playing in that 8th role. Then you also have Gaston Sereno playing in that 10 role. So for me, it's going to be a very tactical game, but a very offensive lineup coming from Nabi. You can see he wants maximum points in this game.
Wanting maximum points, also they do have Morris that could come off the bench. They're still trying to ease him in. Dove starts from the bench, but now when you think TS Galaxy, when you look at players like Puso Ditejane that starts in this game, you know that they want to play off the front foot.
I think you're talking about one dynamic youngster in Puso. For me, he can play as an 8, he can play as a 6, he can play as a 10. Very dynamic, developed here at Kaizer Chiefs, of course. They know him very well in his youth days. But up top for me is Zamovic. How are they going to deal with Zamovic? Because for me, his positioning is key, deadly in the air, also good technique. For me, is that organization of Kaizer Chiefs at the back to say, when one goes tight to Zamovic, one needs to give the cover. And for me, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. The relationship at the back for Kaizer Chiefs to try and stop Zamovic is deadly.
When I was talking to Coach Ednan Beganovic, he was getting emotional. He thought about the time he took over this team facing relegation, and now they've got an opportunity to fight for a place in continental football. What a turnaround under his leadership.
Talk about a coach that has turned things around in Lerato. You're looking at a coach that got this team when they were at the bottom. He has managed to get the best out of his players, playing to their strength. You look at this TS Galaxy team, it's playing more football now. They're keeping the ball, they are longer in position spells, and they are able to penetrate teams. I think he has turned things around, and he has worked on the strength of his players.
I'm going to let Pomuto go because he still needs to get his prep done with regards to this game, because he will be up in commentary. When you come back to Milwazi, of course, we're going to be looking at the team news, but also, I'm not traveling alone. I do know that Lemmy's also here with the fans. It is back to you.
Thank you very much to LP. Indeed, we still are going to be hearing from Lemi Loko throughout the course of the evening as he finds out from Kaizer Chiefs fans exactly where their confidence levels are at the moment. So a reminder, Chiefs, 3 changes, TS Galaxy, 3 changes as well. Very interesting that they touch on TS Galaxy, Stiga, and the kind of team that they have become, particularly under Coach Beganovic. That's now 3rd most goals are scored this season. That's 29. This is compared to the 31 they scored throughout the entirety of last campaign. They've had more than 500 touches in the opponent's box. That's right up there in the league as well.
Can you believe it? And they still have another 5 or 6 games left to add to that tally. So yes, it just speaks to the bravery. We did mention how good they're defending and how they've managed to work with the squad that they have. Key signings in the likes of Dolly, in the likes of Zamovic, which has hit the floor running and adapted very quickly. And I think the addition of the likes of Letsoalo going a bit unnoticed here because Zamovic is taking the headlines, but he's still getting along there, quietly making his way into the goal-scoring charts as well, and assisting very much because he doesn't always start. This is Letsoalo, but he can come in as a second striker as well. So when they change their formation a bit and they add two strikers up front, Letsoalo and Zamovic, they work very nice together.
Yeah, then that pairing gives the centre back a lot to think about because at what moment do you go man on man? Because if they bring 2, it means you must drop one of your holding midfielders to add in that middle to make it a 3 against 2 situation. But a 1-on-1 situation you don't want as a centre back. Whereas for a team that is so porous at the back. So I think there's just a variation of a formation that TX Galaxy might present to Chiefs today. So instead of playing with one, if they go with two strikers, what does Chiefs then do in that instance? You bring in another midfielder to come and join and add so that it becomes a 3-against-2 situation. So I think there's a lot of variation that this team can play around in terms of their formation.
A lot for us to try and break down as we try and come to terms with the fact that, probably TS Galaxy come into this one as favourites against Kaizer Chiefs. A short breather. On the other side of it, we're still going to be hearing from the coaches and what they are thinking ahead of kickoff.
Let's go. No, wrong way. Let's go.
Mama, Papa, kaki.
What?
It's a giant.
It's my glass here.
For decades, millions of people in South Africa haven't been able to afford private health care. And even if you can afford medical aid, it doesn't always cover everything. But Netcare is changing that. With Netcare Plus Gap Care. Get more cover for co-payments, more shortfall cover on specialist fees, more value with day-to-day cover, and more access to world-class care at Netcare. Choose Netcare Plus for a new, affordable way to get private health care.
To some, I'm the chief. To others, I'm Ru. But I'm just Lucas Khateb. It's almost 20 years since I retired from the mighty Leeds United.
You're a well-respected chief. There's a Kaizer Chiefs and everything, you know. For the captain, you're the most inspiring man.
I had nothing to lose, just to go there and do my best, and that's what I did. To play at the highest level and make a difference through the game.
It's the Xiaomi Redmi Note 14, bro.
It's not Xiaomi, it's Xiaomi. Like your names, Chepo and Kalani. It's the Xiaomi Redmi Note 14.
A reminder of the starting lineup for Kaizer Chiefs, the home side at the new Peter Mokaba Stadium. 3 changes, including the return of Wandile Duba to the starting lineup. Pule Modi is there as well, as is Bradley Cross. There's some good news on the bench. Tashreeq Morris returns after spending some time on the sidelines due to injury. He's alongside joint top goal scorer in Mduduzi Shabalala on the bench. One of the visitors then in TS Galaxy, a bit of a correction on our part. We had mentioned only 3 changes, but there is indeed a 4th in Nhlanhla Mgaga. He gets an opportunity to start from the beginning. As we've mentioned already, though, we are looking at the attack as a potential threat to Kaizer Chiefs this evening. That is where the likes of Victor Lutsualo and Zenan Zaimovic, the 3rd best top scorer in the division, that's where they'll be operating this evening. Not too long then to go before we do hear from the coaches, but very quickly from a Chiefs perspective, JT, there's a term that has been used quite extensively now in world football, particularly at this late stage of the season, with fatigue being a huge part of it. And that term is tempo, and teams dictating play, teams playing with tempo. What is tempo, number 1, and number 2, why are Chiefs playing without it?
So tempo is just a variation on the pace that you want to either build up, or the quicker you want to get into the opponent's defending zone, which becomes your attacking zone. But that hasn't been how Chiefs wants to play. Chiefs has become more of a transition team. as a result, they don't really focus much on ball possession, because ball possession then says at what tempo do you want to build up. So that, for me, the tempo part for them, they bypass that by trying to get quicker into the midfield, try and get those diagonal balls from Mad, whether from the left or to the right, to look for players like Solomon, Modi on the wings, so that they get quicker into the opponent's defending third. It hasn't really yielded much, because the Chiefs team wants to be in control of the game, dictate when they want to attack, dictate when they want to keep possession. And that hasn't been the story of how Chiefs has played this season. As a result, you can't at this point even identify where their strength is. But because it's a team that has conceded more than they've scored, I think they are now -5 goal difference. It's a team that's not really scoring much, but at the same time they are conceding a lot of goals.
I bring this up against Stiga because against Golden Arrows, there was plenty of good things about Chiefs and how they were playing, particularly in the first half. Once Cele came off, though, it looked a little less assured. He's not there at all today.
Yeah, and Ngobo will take his place in the middle of the park there. I much rather prefer Ngobo in the centre of midfield than at right back. Solomons will be playing there, but we've seen in the pictures Reece Rossler is also in attendance, you know. So once again, inconsistency at the back, or maybe the coach is trying to get his favourite or his pairings that really work best, you know. But all these changes doesn't really help, you know. As a player, your selection is inconsistency. It impacts your confidence, you know. So you need a few games under your belt, and then who you're playing with as well, because I really think that Pele was starting to rack up a relationship with Mart, and you start to understand your partner when he goes forward, and Mart scored.
Yeah.
So Tele will be sitting when he goes forward, and vice versa. Mart will allow Tele to maybe move a little bit forward and connect play, you know. So that relationship starts to happen, but clearly it's the narrative here is chopping and changing.
Yeah, and this again is a big reason why a team like TS Galaxy, who are on such a wonderful run at the moment, come into this game feeling that perhaps they do have within their ranks the ability to get a win over Kaizer Chiefs, led by the captain himself, Nungisi Mbunjana. We touched on Maketleni Makaula in the previous game. Here's Mbunjana, who over the last couple of games, JT has been asked to play at centre-back, and he's done a pretty decent job in that regard.
Yeah, I think he's adapted very well. The fact that, like Stiga was saying, central midfielders, they easily slot into a center position, because there isn't a lot of movement.
Yeah.
So it's easy to adjust in that area. But because of his experience, he has slotted in so nicely into the team, you know, and he has given them also an option to build from the back, because he's quite comfortable on the ball also. Very aggressive on one-on-one situations. So it's only just on positional play, because centre-back positions, now that's the tricky part. When do I detach from my centre pairing? When I have to go cover on the side? How far the distance?
Yeah.
Those are the things that you now need to coordinate in that area. So I think because of his experience, he's finding it easy to slot in that position. But the moment they have a very mobile striker, that's where they're going to find a bit of problem to deal with it, because they want to protect this area, but at the same time the striker is taking them to areas where it's uncomfortable to defend, and the lines in between, they become disjointed. So yeah, I think he's done well so far.
The question is, how many questions are Kaizer Chiefs going to ask him defensively throughout the course of the evening? Let's head back then to the Peter Mokaba Stadium. Lerato Pacho is in conversation with the two coaches. Here's Coach Nazruddin Nabi. He's alongside Adnan Beganovic.
Lwazi, we await for what should be a colossal battle here between Kaizer Chiefs and TS Galaxy. For Kaizer Chiefs, fighting to finish in at their top 8, and of course they need to ensure that they collect maximum points here. They've played some of their home games at this very venue, so to them it will feel like home. Up against the TS Galaxy, full of steam. Yes, tasted a defeat in their previous encounter, but nevertheless they are thinking that they will be able to qualify for the CAF places right now. And what a transformation for this team since Coach Adnan Beganovic Adnan Beganovic. Adnan Beganovic. Adnan Beganovic.